Hello, it's Willie from the Ozarks, and we're ready for June the 18th's lesson, which is lesson 169 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I give, by grace I will release. All right, that's at the end of the reading. Let's talk briefly about yesterday's lesson. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Anytime during that lesson, did you kind of want to fall back onto your definition of what grace is? You know, we're going to learn in this upcoming lesson that there's no need to further clarify what no one in the world can understand. So grace is like the last place where our feet touch the ground before we leave the earth. And I'm not talking about dying. I'm talking about rejoining who you are and where you are, the journey that's without distance. So grace, did you notice yesterday how grace and love, every time that, or often when he was talking about grace, he talked about the love of God, that even when you're sleeping, he loves you. And when you wake, he loves you with an ever-changing love. So there was a connection made between love and grace. I kind of think of it as that grace is that state that you're in where you are in unity with truth, with God, with reality. You've moved away from fear, and he actually is going to. Anyway, we're going to get into. He says the course is not really trying to get us to that grace is beyond what we can teach in this course, but we're trying to set the stage so that grace can come. And that's through the practice of forgiveness. You know, that's when love is applied in all respects everywhere. The vision of Christ, the forgiven world. That's what allows for grace to be given to you. You have to receive it, but God's able to give it to you when you've lined yourself up by seeing the forgiven world. And remember, the world's going to do everything it can to get you to doubt whether that, because it's not based on that idea. It's based on self-protection and death and limitation, lack, suffering. All right, but we're learning there's a better way. Man, I go to that place inside. I was talking to you yesterday about when you have those anxious thoughts. Find that place deep down inside where you find the peace, and allow it to bathe you and to sustain you. We're learning to do that more and more, aren't we? I have a little definition of grace that I kind of thought up yesterday. GRACE, God's riches at Christ's example. Anyway, I'd heard it a little different than that, but that's the one that makes sense to me in context with A Course in Miracles. You know, Christ gives us the vision and the example of how to see the world as a forgiven world. And that's what allows for grace to come to us. So, a few things I want to read from yesterday's. He remains entirely accessible. He loves his son. I love that first paragraph where it says, he doesn't hide from us. Well, let's just read it. God speaks to us. Shall we not speak to him? He's not distant. He makes no attempt to hide from us. We try to hide from him and suffer from deception. He remains entirely accessible. He loves his son. There is no certainty but this. Yet this suffices. He will love his son forever. When his mind remains asleep, he loves him still. And when his mind awakes, he loves him with a never-changing love. Loved him just as much when he was asleep. Love is constant. Memory of him awakens in the mind, which asks the means of him whereby its sleep is done. Have you asked? Wake me, Father. That's what our lesson was all about. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Father, I come to you, and you will come to me who asks. I am the Son you love. So he wants to awaken us to the realization of our standing with him. Today we ask of God the gift he most carefully preserved within our hearts, waiting to be acknowledged. This the gift by which God leans to us and lifts us up, taking salvation's final step himself. God lifts us up. That's the final step. We have the vision of Christ, and then revelation comes. Knowledge, your complete unity, what can't be spoken, but just known. God loves his Son. Request him now to give the means by which this world will disappear and vision first will come, with knowledge but an instant later. For in grace you see a light that covers all the world in love, and watch fear disappear with every face, as hearts rise up and claim the light as theirs. What now remains that heaven be delayed an instant longer? What remains undone when your forgiveness rests on everything? That's all God's waiting for, is for you to get with the program. Let your forgiveness extend to everything. You'll know that you've reached it when you see everything is beautiful. Every person, place, thing, and situation. If something comes up that's not beautiful, well then you need forgiveness there. Practice it. Let go of the illusion. Remember, our forgiveness is just letting go of illusions. It is a new and holy day today, for we receive what has been given us. One faith lies in the giver. Our faith lies in the giver, not our own acceptance. I really wanted to emphasize that yesterday. I want to emphasize it again. Your little strength will be met by God. He's the one that's doing all the work. You can rest. Just give him the quiet time and the do your part, which is just to ask to see a forgiven world and desire it strongly. And there at the end, to him we pray today, returning but the words he gave to us through his own voice, the Holy Spirit. His word, his love. Your grace is given me. I claim it now. Father, I come to you, and you will come to me who asks. I am the Son you love. So I hope you made some progress on what grace is, and recognized that it's where we're headed. This world filled with grace, or this transcendental state. Maybe we could call grace another name for some of what the Eastern folks call samadhi. Anyway, I want to show you this plant. You'll see it all over in the Ozarks. It's just a common weed. It's annual ragweed, Ambrosia artemisifolia. It gets quite tall and very prolific. It grows well. It grows real well in my garden. I've got to work at keeping it out. But Native Americans have used it as an healing herb for centuries. Some of the things it's been used for: it's an astringent, it's an antiseptic, it's an emetic, which means it'll make you vomit, or it can make you vomit. An emollient, which smooths the skin, and as a febrifuge, which means it reduces fever. So it's had quite a bit of uses. And anyway, common annual ragweed. All right, let's go to our lesson for today. Lesson 169. By grace I live, by grace I am released. Grace is an aspect of love. Grace is an aspect of the love of God. which is most like the state prevailing in the unity of truth. Okay, so it's an aspect of the love of God, and he says it's most like the state prevailing in the unity of truth. When you've reached that place where you're connected and everything is connected, and you see that truth has been true and always is and always will be true and always has been. It is the most lofty aspiration, for it leads beyond the world entirely. Wow. It is past learning, yet the goal of learning. Okay, it's past learning. This course is about learning, but grace, it is past learning, yet the goal of learning. For grace cannot come until the mind prepares itself for true acceptance. Grace becomes inevitable instantly in those who have prepared a table where it can be gently laid and willingly received, an altar clean and holy for the gift. Are you preparing your clean and holy altar? Remember when Jesus said that if you're going to give a gift to God and you remember that your brother has aught against you, leave your gift at the altar and go reconcile yourself with your brother, then come back and give your gift. Well, this is what he's referring to, is before you can reach the Holy of Holies inside yourself, you've got to be sure that you don't hold any grievances towards your brothers. Make sure that not only do you not hold grievances for them, you want to have enthusiastic love for them, the unity of truth, this connection of endearment and appreciation for everything God's created. So until you can be appreciative, you haven't reached it. So keep working on it. Be there. Don't tie up a long time doing this. It doesn't have to take long. And as soon as you've done it, grace comes. Paragraph 2, grace is acceptance of the love of God within a world of seeming hate and fear. Let's say that one again. Grace is acceptance of the love of God within a world of seeming hate and fear. Seeming hate and fear. Just appearances. By grace alone, the hate and fear are gone. For grace presents a state so opposite to everything the world contains that those whose minds are lighted by the gift of grace cannot believe the world of fear is real. Wow, isn't that beautiful? You get lots of opportunities. Take them. Every time that a brother does something to make you upset and you want to, turn your back and walk away, or say a harsh word back, or just sulk, salvation's knocking at the door. Jesus is knocking at the door. Grace is knocking at the door. The gift of God is knocking at the door. Salvation's come again. Accept it this time. All right? Let's see. By grace alone, the hate and fear are gone. For grace presents a state so opposite to everything the world contains that those whose minds are lighted by the gift of grace cannot believe the world of fear is real. 3, grace is not learned. Okay, grace is not learned. The final step must go beyond all learning. Grace is not the goal this course aspires to attain. Yet we prepare for grace in that an open mind can hear the call to waken. Is your mind awake? Are you open? Is your mind open? Are you willing to say, as who was that in the Count of Monte Cristo? He says the greatest of all words is perhaps. The ultimate word is, I forget exactly how he says it, Alexander Dumas. Let's see. How did he say that? The ultimate word of human wisdom is perhaps. Isn't that beautiful? So, you don't have to accept what somebody else believes, but you certainly want to listen to them. That shows that you love them. Proves to you love them. To understand them, to accept what they have to say without judgment. So the word perhaps is a nice one to use. Open mind is what he's referring to. Grace is not learned. The final step must go beyond all learning. Grace is not the goal this course aspires to attain, yet we prepare for grace in that an open mind can hear the call to waken. It is not shut tight against God's voice. It has become aware that there are things it does not know, and thus is ready to accept a state completely different from experience with which it is familiarly at home. Familiarly at home. 4. Okay, so we're willing to get out of our comfort zone and still stay comfortable. That's the beautiful part. We're learning to get out of our comfort zone and still stay comfortable because we're learning to use the eyes of Christ to see the world again and see the forgiven world. 4. We have perhaps appeared to contradict our statement that the revelation of the Father and the Son as one has been already set. But we have also said the mind determines when the time will be and has determined it. Yet we urge you to bear witness to the Word of God to hasten the experience of truth and speed its advent into every mind which recognizes its effects on you. 5. Oneness is simply the idea God is. Oneness is simply the idea God is. So he's telling us in that last paragraph that we're to hasten the day, even though it has been set already by our mind, by the mind that's one with God, looking back. But our role now is to hasten the day, make that day come. Oneness is simply the idea God is. I'm just thinking about how when Helen, that brought this book out, she originally didn't even believe in God. And one day she had this dream, and it was life-changing. And the dream, she was in a cave, and on the wall it said, God is. And it totally changed her life. Totally changed her life. And she started hearing this voice of God, who she didn't even know existed. She was probably really honest and was just unwilling to take things unless she could find empirical, scientific type evidence. And that was what, I don't think she was at least open-minded in her dream to see that God is. And from that point on, she began to receive the words of Jesus. Oneness is simply the idea God is, and in his being, he encompasses all things. No mind holds anything but him. We say, God is, and then we cease to speak. For in that knowledge, words are meaningless. There are no lips to speak them, and no part of mind sufficiently distinct to feel that it is now aware of something not itself. It has united with its source, and like its source itself, it merely is. 6. We cannot speak nor write nor even think of this at all. It comes to every mind when total recognition that its will is God's has been completely given and received completely. Completely given and completely received. It returns the mind into the endless present, where the past and future cannot be conceived. It lies beyond salvation, past all thought of time, forgiveness, and the holy face of Christ. The Son of God has merely disappeared into his Father, and his Father has in him. The world has never been at all. Eternity remains a constant state. He woke up from the dream. 7. This is beyond experience we try to hasten. Okay, this experience of this oneness, that's beyond what we are experience that we try to hasten. It's like those near-death experiences that people have. They can't really talk about what they felt, but their changed life, they come back and say, hey, there's a way better way, and they don't have any fear of death anymore. Well, this is where we're getting to the same place by these practices. So let me encourage you, be sure to do your hourly remembrances, or more so. But remember throughout the day, at least every hour, the lesson for the day. And be sure to take your at least 5 minutes up to whatever you want. 10 to 15 is what I kind of recommend. If you need to set a timer, at least set it for 10 or 15 minutes. It is my encouragement. Not Jesus. Jesus has said just 5 minutes or more. and let all the distracting thoughts learn to settle. And you'll enter into that holy place where you'll find the trap door to the other world. I call it the trap door. He just called it the door. This is beyond experience we try to hasten. Yet forgiveness, taught and learned, brings with it the experiences which bear witness that the time the mind itself determined to abandon all but this is now at hand. So forgiveness is what. So forgiveness, taught and learned, brings with. How do you teach it? By practicing it. And by practicing it, and you're going to be learning it, and with it, it brings the experiences which bear witness that the time the mind itself determined to abandon all but this is now at hand. We do not hasten it, in that what you will offer was concealed from him who teaches what forgiveness means. All learning was already in his mind, accomplished and complete. He recognized all that time holds and gave it to all minds, that each one might determine from a point where time has ended when it is released to revelation and eternity. So looking back, you say, hey, now it's kind of like from the oneness point of view, with your one with God and eternally secure, you look back at that life that you dreamed, and you go, hey, now's the time to start waking up, start practicing forgiveness. So in the experience, you now are able to say, hey, now I'm waking up. Now's the time. It's the point where time has ended. Paragraph 8. We have repeated several times before that you but make a journey that is done. A journey that is done. For oneness must be here. For oneness must be here. Whatever time the mind has set for revelation is entirely irrelevant to what must be a constant state, forever as it always was, forever to remain as it is now. We merely take the part assigned long since and fully recognized as perfectly fulfilled by him who wrote salvation's script in his Creator's name and in the name of his Creator's Son. That'd be us. 9, the Creator's Son. 9, there is no need to further clarify what no one in the world can understand. I love that. There's no need to talk about anything that people can't understand. I mean, that seems, and that's what he's saying. But when revelation of your oneness comes, it will be known and fully understood. Now we have work to do. Okay? It'll become fully understood when it comes. But right now we have work to do. Now we have work to do, for those in time can speak of things beyond and listen to words which explain what is to come is past already. Yet what meaning can the words convey to those who count the hours still and rise and work and go to sleep by them? 10. Suffice it then that you have work to do to play your part. We have work to do to see the forgiven world. Keep practicing. Keep doing your silent times so that you can keep exercising this practice. This should be the only thing that's of value in your life, should be to see the world of beauty, the world of forgiveness. Nothing should take precedent over that. Everything else should be subordinate to that one desire. I mean, not that you can't have lots of desires. Go to, whether you're going to college, whether you're working a job and trying to do a better job and become better at it, at whatever you're doing, whatever you're exploring. I mean, I'm exploring plants and I love it. But that's all subordinate to the one main goal, which is to see what Christ sees, the forgiven world. Suffice it then that you have work to do to play your part. The ending must remain obscure to you until your part is done. It does not matter, for your part is still what all the rest depends on. As you take the role assigned to you, salvation comes a little nearer each uncertain heart that does not beat as yet in tune with God. Forgiveness is a central theme which runs throughout salvation. holding all its parts in meaningful relationships. The course it runs directed, and its outcome sure. 11. And now we ask for grace, the final gift salvation can bestow. Ask for grace, the final gift salvation can bestow. Experience that grace provides will end in time, for grace foreshadows heaven, yet does not replace the thought of time, but for a little while. The interval suffices. It is here that miracles are laid, to be returned by you from holy instance you receive through grace in your experience to all who see the light that lingers on your face. Wow. The light that lingers on your face shows that you've been sitting in the Holy of Holies, the holy place. 12. What is the face of Christ? But his who went a moment into timelessness and brought a clear reflection of the unity he felt an instant back to bless the world. It makes hardly can even say it. It makes me feel so wonderful. What is the face of Christ? But his who went a moment into timelessness and brought a clear reflection of the unity he felt an instant back to bless the world. How could you finally attain to it forever while a part of you remains outside, unknowing, unawakened, and need of you as witness to the truth? 13. Be grateful to return. Be grateful to return to what? The world. To bring what you saw in your holy instant. And stay in the holy instant to bless the world. Be grateful to return as you were glad to go an instant and accept the gifts that grace provided you. You carry them back to yourself. You carry them back to yourself. And revelation stands not far behind. Its coming is ensured. We ask for grace and for experience that comes from grace. We welcome the release it offers everyone. And these are happy tears that I have because, it's like God's going to wipe every tear away from us. But in the process, we find we have like happy tears, glad that we are able to be heralds of eternity, that we stepped into that quiet moment inside and get to bring it back to the world with our shining face. We ask for grace and for experience that comes from grace. We welcome the release it offers everyone. We do not ask for the unaskable. We do not look beyond what grace can give. For this we can give. For this we can give in the grace that has been given us. And the last paragraph. Our learning goal today does not exceed this prayer. Yet in the world, what could be more than what we ask this day of him who gives the grace we ask as it was given him? By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I give, by grace I will release. By grace I live, by grace I am released. By grace I give, by grace I will release.